Featurable dimensions, metrics for the car that he'd worked out for various chassis. And when he spent some time with the car, a couple of weeks, the demon wouldn't live in it anymore. It would be okay. And anyway, Jake was typical of the kind of wisdom that came from the old guard experienced-based crew chiefs. And all this for budgets at that time of about $2 million for driver entry. Most teams only had one driver, and so in fact, initially Rick Hendrick was the first team to have two drivers. He had a development team and a race team, a primary race team, and put the emphasis on one car. When I started my multiple team thing in the early '90s, I committed the same resources to both, the same as I had in my drag racing, and the same as I had in my road racing, where I've run up to 5 cars a day, 24 hours at different times. And anyway, we set a new standard for multiple cars that exist today. For 2011 now, we have many teams' budgets for car entry of north of $20 million. So that's a tenfold increase in a little over 20 years. NASCAR has transitioned from a regional sport focused in the Southeast to attract national and even international audiences. And NASCAR has revised its engineering thinking, and that prevails over much of NASCAR's earlier tradition. Demons are for the most part gone, and superstition has subsided. Although I'll tell you this, unfortunately, about 8 years ago, I started betting on one of my drivers in comparison to Dale Earnhardt Sr. And we were betting on qualifying times, and I lost 5 times in a row. And you know, for Hamburger today, I was 2 on Tuesday. I put off paying the bill. It finally got to be $50. And so I gave the person, the crew man on the other side that I lost the $50, so I gave him a $50 bill. I said, I'll see how this works. He was from Canada, like Ron Fellows. He was from Canada, and he didn't understand all the things that were going on in the Southeast with NASCAR. He carried the $50 bill to Richard Childress. He showed him what he had and was bragging on how he put it on me with Dale Sr. Richard snatched the $50 bill, tore it up, and ground it into the ground. And so the guy that I lost the $50 didn't get the benefit of it either. Teams now produce the majority of the race car components in-house. The bodywork, the suspension, the track bars, all the rear axles, all those things are now produced in-house by a much larger staff level than we had. I probably had 14 people from my one car from Mark Martin in 1988. I've got 100 people for dedicated to my 4 cars each in 2011. That's 400 people and we're running 4 cars. And that's pretty much where we are, and I appreciate folks' help on all that. I see Jamie Allison back here, who's been my partner this year, and we stepped it up as much as we could. Staying true to its roots, however, NASCAR continues to limit the introduction of new parts and modifications for teams and manufacturers, which NASCAR believes would upset parity or increase the cost to competitors regardless of the argument or merit. NASCAR has not attempted, however, to limit the team's computer applications to analyze relevant data, nor to limit the efforts to predict optimum chassis setups with advanced software. NASCAR has also not attempted to restrict laboratory testing tools the teams use for the optimization of the cars and the engines. Accordingly, most teams with their manufacturers of help avail themselves of the following laboratory tools: scale model wind tunnels, 4/10 scale model generally, full-size wind tunnels with stationary floors, full-size wind tunnels with moving floors. We went as far as Germany to get those initially. We have one now in Concord, North Carolina. We have shock absorber dynamometers, engine dynamometers, drivetrain dynamometers, suspension kinematics and compliance machines, and the most complicated, a 7-post racetrack simulation device which utilizes actual specific race car data, race ride data, to afford predictions of individual tire grip, potential, and the other operational parameters. These tools are now sourced from across the continent and all over the world. We have Formula 1 tools, as well as tools from road racing in Europe, or rally racing in Europe, along with things that have come out through Indy cars and through road racing in the U.S. But hear my caution on this. No engineering tool or effort will produce for teams the answer. All data is subject to its interpretation and application by the engineers, drivers, and crew chiefs. Wide models or 7-post work can define shock absorbers, which can yield great grip numbers, but may be difficult or impossible for drivers to drive. Wind tunnels can help technicians make more negative lift or downforce, but may be at the wrong end of the vehicle for the best balance for a particular racetrack. Engine dynamometers can develop engine curves with peak power numbers, with great peak power numbers, but may be undesirable, have undesirable torque curves. Before I close, I'd like to turn my attention to the many career opportunities that today's NASCAR industry offers for young people. The short list includes dynamometer operators, chassis component CAD operators, computer-aided design operators, lab test equipment operators, design engineers, traveling team application engineers. Also note that nearly half of today's Volvo crew chiefs have some sort of advanced technical degree. A recent evaluation revealed that the pay for these technical positions range from 130 to 200% for that of equivalent positions in the more traditional industries. In closing, I encourage NASCAR fans to tune in and try to imagine what's going on behind the scenes. They might be surprised how similar the challenges faced by NASCAR's technicians are to those faced by technicians in other industries. One last thought. If you're a fan and watch NASCAR races regularly, know that 96% of every Roush Fenway race car that you might see destroyed on the racetrack is recycled so it can race again. Also note that a new environmentally friendly blend of Sunoco ethanol fuel now fills every tank of every NASCAR Sprint Cup car, nationwide race car, or Camping World Series truck in competition. They're trying to put me personally out of business. In 2012, next year, all NASCAR Sprint Cup cars will finally get a new fuel injection system that's very much like the system we have on our passenger cars. That's been 20 years coming. I have one closing remark. I was conflicted as I come up here. I'm as impassioned and as interested in Detroit's economy and what's going on in the automobile industry and the role that the Detroit Science Center might play in it as I am in competitive things that go on in Charlotte. All of Detroit went through a horrible downturn in 2009. Roush Industries contracted to make ourselves right size from 2,400 people to about 1,600. We lost a third of our workforce as we right-sized to hang on if and when it would come back. I'm happy to say that the lights are back on not only in Detroit but at Roush Industries. Today, if I'm informed correctly, and if Devin had information, one of us is a little bit wrong on the numbers here. But I'm informed that we have our staffing level today is over 3,000, up from the high of 2,400 in 2008. And we have currently an open requisition list for at least 150 qualified, experienced, able automotive engineers and technicians that can help us move this industry forward into the 21st century. What I've seen today, the part that the Detroit Science Center plays in encouraging young people to look at science and look at engineering and think about welding and think about machine shop operations and think about CAD things, think about the things that are relevant to making something in this country and in this town is really important. The Detroit Science Center, as seen by me tonight, is at the epicenter of that. I celebrate and congratulate with your success, and I'll certainly pay attention as in the future, and I will organize my managers and some of my family and my friends to come down and take a look at what's going on here. You guys are getting it done. Thank you for your patience.